it's me again, Cryonic Wolf, and I'll be your host again. So, welcome to part 2 of the tutorial on Advanced Creation Beta 1.0. In this part, I'll go through all the tools in the build mode. These are quite handy to speed up the building of buildings, art, or anything you want from within Minecraft. If you find these tutorials useful, you can let me know by liking this video and subscribing if you want to see more. Any questions are always welcome in the comments or on my Discord server that you can find here. If you haven't seen the first part yet and you feel like you need that info, click here to navigate to the other videos in the tutorial. Don't forget about the chapters in this video. They can help you navigate to the tool you are interested in. Now that you're up to speed with the heads-up display, let's go on to the fun part, aka the building, with the build main mode. The build mode has 3 different settings as indicated on the right side. First and most important is the tool mode that you are using at the moment. Then you have the direction mode that is active and the fill mode that is active. The easiest way to change these modes is with the tool selection wheel that you can access with left control. Here on the outer circle you can select the tool mode. This will determine the shape you are placing or what kind of action that you can do. In this tutorial I will go through these and tell you how to use them. The inner circle holds the different direction modes that you can select. I'll tell you what these do when it becomes relevant. On the right side you can choose to fill a shape or not with the fill mode. This only applies to the rectangle and the circle tool. The first tool you have is the single tool. This allows you to place single blocks with the right click and delete single blocks with the left click, just like in vanilla Minecraft. Similar to vanilla, blocks whose rotation matters, such as furnaces and stairs, will always face towards the position of the camera as best they can when placed on horizontal surfaces. When you want to place them against the wall, they will face away from the wall. When this is not the desired orientation, you can use the R key to rotate them horizontally. Same idea for the stairs, and just like in vanilla, if you want upside down stairs, you need to point at the top part of a block to flip them. It works similarly with blocks that can also be placed vertically, such as pistons. Note that the R key only rotates them horizontally. It may seem obvious, but doors can be orientated in different ways. Where the handle is and how they open is based on where the cursor is pointing inside the block. Again, you rotate them with R. Just a little side note is that you can still use them from the isometric view with the normal right click. The single tool is a great tool for placing furniture like beds and torches. You can even illegally place torches in the air or hanging from nothing. Just make sure Notch doesn't catch you doing this. Now, you might be wondering how I placed those blocks in the air. I did it with the alter mode. To go into alter mode, you can press the left alt key and hold it. This alter mode can do a multitude of things depending on which tool you are using. But for the single tool, alter mode is used to offset your block from the cursor. Notice that a white crosshair appeared where your cursor is now. This indicates where your cursor was before you pressed the left alt key. This is important because if you move the cursor, preview of the block moves horizontally only, and you can see white indication of how much it has moved from the original cursor position. Besides horizontal movement, you can also move the preview block up by scrolling up on the mouse wheel, and you can move it down by scrolling down. Releasing the left alt key will teleport your cursor back to its original position, where the white crosshair was. Now the preview is offset from your cursor, and when you move your cursor, the preview will stay offset from it. Now you can also see your current offset in the information bar in the bottom right corner of the heads-up display, and you can use the clear offset button to remove the offset. This offset functionality allows you to build in hard-to-reach places such as in the air or in the ground. Whenever you place a block, the offset is also cleared, so you can continue building quickly. Onto the line tool, which does exactly what it says. It lets you draw lines between 2 points with right clicks and lets you delete lines with left clicks. Once you have selected the first block, you can cancel the action by pressing escape, but a faster way to cancel is by pressing the opposite mouse button. So when I start placing a line with the right click and then left click, the action is cancelled. Same thing for when I first left click to start deleting and then right click to cancel the delete action. With stairs and other rotatable blocks, you can rotate the block with the R key before or after you start the action. Notice that the line is drawn from the middle of the start block to the exact point of the cursor within the end block. I've made this so that you can have maximum freedom with how you draw your lines, but it can also be undesired. That is why I've added this button in the tool selection wheel within the line tool button. When you press this, the end block will always snap to the center of the block. This makes uniform lines every time. Just like with the single tool, you can offset the preview by pressing left alt, and while the offset stays after the first click, you can clear it or change it to place the end of the line. Now, adding an offset is not the only way of building. Oh, what's that? Sorry, but this section was deemed too cringy for human consumption, but I still want to ask you for feedback on the mod, or the tutorial, or anything else for that matter. Here's a link to my Discord. I'd like to see you there, but you can also leave a YouTube comment if that's more your style. Let's get back to it. Adding an offset is not the only way of building in the air. You can also use the direction modes for that. These will limit the position of the end block to a plane relative to the start of the line. Of course, that means that these direction modes only apply after the first click. The direction mode we've been using up until now is the free direction. This mode places the end block on the surface that you point at. Selecting the green plane will limit the end block to the green plane relative to the starting block. Notice that these planes are also indicated on your camera crosshair, thereby serving as indication of which direction mode to choose to build in the desired direction. The blue plane is the horizontal plane. As you can see, you can combine the offset and the direction modes to get to the line you want. Though there is a slight bug here, but that doesn't interfere with the end result. I also want to let you know that you can switch direction modes after you have made the first click. Beside the planes, there are two additional direction modes. The auto mode will choose the direction mode automatically based on the direction of the camera. The ground mode is a special direction mode, as it places all the blocks of your line on the surface of the ground. This is especially useful for placing rails or redstone wires on hills. The rectangle mode lets you create rectangles, but honestly, it primarily makes parallelograms. Yes, I know it's a bit of a misnomer, but nobody would use it if I called it parallelogram, so shut it. You can basically define anything with 4 corners. It works with 3 clicks. With right clicks, you first define a bottom line, and then you define the sides. Same with the left clicks to delete. Unlike the line tool, the cursor in the rectangle tool will always select the middle of the block. This makes it easier to draw straight rectangles. The thinking here was, why make a tool and limit it only to boring old rectangles? While it is very good at making those, why not go wild and make a diamond? Or maybe something in between? Why not use the offset from before to make a slope, or use a combination of the direction modes to make it? You can also easily make a platform in the air by using the offset to select a starting point in the air and using the horizontal direction mode to draw the platform. With stairs, you can easily make a giant stairway or a roof. And you can use R to rotate the stairs into the correct orientation during any step of the way. By setting the fill mode to no fill, you can create a base shape for whatever building you may think of. A neat trick is making a vertical line first, and then switching to ground direction mode. This way, you can make a wall that follows the terrain with consistent height. These are just a few of the many things you can do with this flexible tool. The curve tool is much like the line tool, as you select 2 points to draw a line, but then you pick a third point to define the curvature of the line. Like in all build mode tools, the process of deleting with left clicks is the same. Oh, something I forgot to mention with the other tools is that the information section in the bottom right of the heads-up display now shows 3 coordinates. The start position of the line, the end of the line, and a midpoint for the third point that I will be calling the curve point. How this third point decides what the curve is can be very confusing. The math behind this is called a 3-point Bezier curve, but I don't want to bore you with the math, so if you're interested, you can look it up online. I'll be giving you a more practical instruction on how to use it. To help me with that, I've added some reference geometry to this map. What I can tell you now is that it's originally designed to make 90-degree curves. So, to make a perfect 90-degree curve, you should first enable the snap to center of block function, just like in the line tool. Then you start by drawing a perfect diagonal line with the first 2 clicks and then place the curve point at equal distances between the first 2 points. I'm using glass here to show you the curve line going through the blocks. So following the sand diagonal will give you a curve that is perfectly symmetrical. But let's switch to cobblestone to see the blocks better. When you put the curve point where all the points form the corners of a rectangle, you can create a perfect quarter circle. Let me go to the circle tool and show you how they match up. So that's how you make nice curves. That one looks like a bow. Don't let this explanation limit your creativity though. There are so many more things to be done with the curve tool. That's some kind of creature? You also don't have to limit yourself to start with diagonal lines either. And just like with the previous tools, you can use the offset by pressing left Alt for any of the points. The vertical direction modes can especially help you make nice arcs in one plane. The flat surface means you can pull it out later with the pull tool to make a nice arcing roof. Like the other tools, cancelling an action is done with Escape or with the opposite mouse button. And the blocks of your arc can be rotated with the R key at any time. For this tool, fill modes have no effect, at least in the beta 1.0 version. I hope this explanation has made the curve tool more approachable for you. Now we've come to the lifeblood of Minecraft, because what would Minecraft be without circles? The circle tool works with 2 clicks. The first click to define the center point of the circle, and the second click to define the radius of the circle. Again, right clicks to place circles and left clicks to delete circles. The selection of the center will always snap to the middle of a block, but for the radius, you have the option to select it freely, or you can turn on snap to middle of block to always select the middle of blocks. The fill mode also affects the circle tool, allowing you to make filled or empty circles. With the circle tool, you can offset the selection of the middle point by holding left Alt like in the other tools. For the radius selection, however, altering the position is not available, as indicated by the feedback bar when you press left Alt. As you may have noticed, although I'm in the free direction mode, the circle is always drawn in the horizontal plane. This is because the circle tool is restricted to 3 main planes for the sake of simplicity. You can still use the green and red direction mode to draw vertical circles. Again, cancel a connection is done with the escape key or with the opposite mouse button. And the blocks of your arc can be rotated with the R key at any time. So now you know how to make them perfect circles in Minecraft. What a relief, huh? The pull tool can really speed up the building process by allowing you to extend the shapes that you've created with the previous build tools. With the first right click, you can select the surface, pull it out, and then confirm it with the second right click. You can select the same surface with left click to start a delete pull, and then left click a second time to confirm the deletion. Now you can start extracting or deleting any shapes that you made with the previous tools. The blue highlighting will show you which blocks will be selected when you do the first click. When pointing at a block, the pull tool will select all blocks of the same type that make up the surface that you are pointing at. So basically all the connected blocks of the same type with visible surfaces that are in the same plane as the surface that you are pointing at. For example, in this little construction, only cobblestone blocks are selected when I point at this cobblestone block, and only granite is selected when I point at a granite block. Which blocks of the same type are selected is highly dependent on which surface I point at. Notice also that the cobblestone behind the granite blocks is not selected when I click on this surface, but it is selected when I click on the opposite surface of that same block. The selection also takes the properties of the blocks into account. As you can see here, it will only select the stairs that have the same orientation, even though these stairs are of the same block type. It also doesn't select the stairs that are upside down below it. You will have to pull them out separately if that is desired. As you may have noticed, the pull direction after the first click is purely based on which surface you have selected. So when I click on top of these blocks, I will pull them up, and when I click on the side, I will pull them horizontally. You can still use the R key to horizontally rotate the direction of pull down. Pay attention to the colored surface that appears when you click. This surface indicates which plane your selection is restricted to. It changes based on where you first clicked, and it also changes direction based on which way you are looking, just like in the auto direction mode. After making the first right click, you are not restricted to pulling outwards. You can also pull backwards and overwrite other block types, though it can sometimes be hard to see what is actually happening when the preview goes on the ground. Same for when you left click, you can use a reference surface of one block type to delete a whole area of different block types. When using the pull tool, you can't use left alt to add an offset since your selection is based on which surface you point at. This is also indicated by the feedback bar. Same when you've selected a surface already, though you can still easily pull things underground because your selection is tied to a plane based on your camera orientation. What is especially useful here is the information in the bottom right of the screen. The size metric tells you how far you have pulled. In this case, it's the middle Y coordinate that changes, because I'm pulling vertically. Watch it change as I move the mouse. Now it shows that I'll delete 16 blocks when I finish the action. It's quite easy to make some holes in the terrain with this. Most of the direction modes don't have any effect on the pull tool, with the exception of the ground direction, as it will pull each block of the selected surface to the next solid block without overriding them. This is nice for walls over terrain or foundations of buildings. If there are no solid blocks in the direction you've selected, this mode will theoretically pull it to infinity, but there is a block limit to ensure that your computer doesn't go up into flames. As with all the tools before, cancelling an action is done with escape or with the opposite mouse button. The fill mode has no effect here in the pull tool. That's it, we're done with the pull tool. I hope it proves useful to you. The copy tool allows you to select an area and copy it as much as you like. It's really simple. You select a starting point with left click. This point will be indicated with green highlighting, and the white selection box will show you what you are selecting. With another left click, you select the endpoint of the area you want to copy. Of course, no one wants to copy a house without a roof, so the offset is really handy here. As seen in many of the other tools, each point of the copy action can be offset from the cursor by pressing left alt and using scrolling and mouse movements to adjust the offset vertically and horizontally to select the exact point of the area that you want to copy. Here, the direction modes have no effect. After the selection, you can still see the selection box of what you are copying, but you also have the copied area attached to your mouse as a preview. You can then use a right click to place as many copies as you need. Notice that the preview is initially attached to the middle bottom layer of the copied area. This can again be offset from the cursor with left alt to get the preview in the exact right position. You can also rotate the preview with the R key, and even mirror it with the comma key? Yeah, you should probably pick your own preferred key for that one in the controls menu. When you are done copying, you can left click or press escape to cancel the action, though the copies you've already placed keep existing. The copy tool is really powerful, and can even select large areas and copy them whole. So what happens if you select an area, but it's not quite the area you want to copy? You're doomed and you have to start over again, right? Wrong. You can use a trick to change the copied area. All you have to do is go to the create mode up here, In the Create mode, you can see the surfaces of your selection box light up when you point at them. You can left click on one of these to select them, extend or shrink them to where you want them, and then left click again. If you then go back to the build mode and come back to Copy Tool, your preview will have changed to the new selection, and you can copy to your heart's content. There are a few last things I want to tell you about. For one, the Copy Tool doesn't copy the contents of chests. Yeah, for some reason, Minecraft can't find the textures for cobblestone walls anymore. I don't know why. And it also doesn't copy any living creatures, though you might not have expected it to do that in the first place, right? Also, in this beta 1.0.1 version, air blocks are not copied, so if you place a house underground, it will be filled with dirt or stone. The Move Delete tool is quite similar to the Copy tool. So first look at that chapter before you're watching this. First, you select the area with left clicks, and then you place the selected area somewhere else with the right click. The big difference with Copy, of course, is that the original gets deleted once you move, and the action is over after the move. Now, where does the delete part come in, you ask? Well, contrary to the Copy tool, once you have selected an area, the left click will delete the selected area without moving it. To cancel a move action, you can only press the escape key. All the stuff with the offsets, direction modes, and other rules are completely the same as with the Copy tool. The FillGap tool allows you to easily fill up any holes or areas. It works with only one click to fill a whole area up with blocks. For example, looking into this rock formation with the cut through mode reveals there is a cave. When I point the FillGap tool into it, it shows you one preview block of the block you are holding in the position that you are pointing at. This is the origin from where a space gets filled up as indicated with the green highlighting. This way, you have a transparent overview of all the space that will be affected by your action. So now I'm filling this enclosed space with stone with one right click. Since this tool will only select empty space, there's nothing for it to delete, so left click will do the same fill action. The direction modes are critical to the usefulness of this tool, because in the free mode, this tool will try to fill everything in all directions. Theoretically, it would fill your entire world if not constrained by walls. Luckily, the tool is limited in the amount of blocks it can place. These limits can be changed in the mod options. It just so happens that these limits also produce dope diamond shapes that end up looking like pyramids when placed on the ground. Notice here in the information section in the bottom right, at the blocks part, it shows the amount of blocks it's going to place. Yeah, that's a lot of blocks. Try placing that one by one. You'll love it. But besides making cool shapes, I personally never find myself needing to fill up a whole space. No, the real usefulness comes from the other direction modes. The blue direction mode will only place blocks in the horizontal plane, allowing you to easily make floors in buildings. The red and green direction modes do the same in the main horizontal directions, allowing you to close off holes or caves with irregular shapes. The ground mode is interesting here, as it will fill up everything below the block you are pointing at. This tool is very eager to fill up your entire world with blocks, so any hole like this one will spill out blocks like a broken candy machine. Be careful with that, as it can get really dicey when you start placing falling blocks, since you can't undo them once they've fallen, but I don't want to get into that now. With that hole closed up, we can fill this entire floor up with blocks using the ground direction mode. The offset mechanic can be used by holding left Alt, which will offset the start of the fill action, as indicated by the preview of the block you are holding. In part 1 of these tutorial videos, I said that the default mode of advanced creation is to ignore plants in the selection as indicated by this button in the in-game menu. In beta 1.0, this also applies to the FillGap tool, as by default it will override trees, grass and other plants. When you turn ignore plants off, it will fill only the air around the trees and grass. Righto! That's all for the build mode. Many thanks to our King Pixis and the other patrons, known as Bill Botkin, Quentin Butler, and Ranger 10700, for believing in this mod and supporting it. If you also believe in this mod, a little of your spare change would go a great distance in giving me more time to improve the mod. If that's not your cup of tea, you can also do the old like and subscribe to support me and get some news on the development. Now, go on, click here to go to any of the other parts of the tutorial, or do whatever you do.